Hi, everybody. This is Vanya Fatidis from Peaceful Eating, bringing you this week's live Q&A. I've had a bit of a struggle getting on today. I don't know, maybe Facebook is expiring in the heat, but here I am, ready to answer your questions. So each week I answer a subscriber or listener or whatever people's questions, which get sent to me via email or on social media or in my group. It's not about the weight. So you're welcome to submit your questions to me. I really enjoy answering them. So who am I? I'm Vanya Fatidis, and I'm the founder of Peaceful Eating, where I help people around the world come to a place of ease and freedom with food and in their own bodies. And each week I answer as many questions as I can within 20 minutes to half an hour. So today I think it's going to be a short one. I have three questions, and let me get to them straight away. All right, so the first one is how to apply the mindful eating practices without feeling like you're dealing with new rules. I suppose being kind to self will play a big part. Yes, you are quite right. Being kind to self is, I would say, a key to making peace with your body and food. Because really, peace and hate don't coexist, do they? So you can't hate yourself into being peaceful. And you can't bully yourself into being peaceful. So that is definitely a very core part of everything that I teach. So you're onto it. But okay, so how do you not turn mindful eating into a diet, which is what many people do. And in fact, if you go onto Amazon and you do a search for mindful eating, you'll probably find mindful eating diets. Well, they're not actually mindful eating, they're diets, but what they're doing is co-opting mindful eating to try and help you control what you're eating so that you'll lose weight. So there's a lot of that out there, and so I'm glad you brought this question because it's easy to fall prey to, particularly with swimming in the soup of diet culture. So how do we avoid this trap? The key to any kind of mindful practice is actually practicing mindfulness. So I would suggest that anybody who's interested in mindful eating or in mindfulness adopt a more formal practice around that. So when you're practicing mindfulness, what you're doing is you're growing your capacity to pay attention in a particular way. And the particular way is paying attention to whatever is arising without judgment, but with curiosity instead. And I would say compassion, which is what you said in the beginning about kindness. So when you're practicing mindfulness, like you have a sitting practice, say, and we can talk about the different types of practices, what you're going to be doing is dedicating a few minutes a day to really noticing what is arising, whether it is sensations in your body, like your feet on the floor or your bum in the chair. I can feel right now I've got a lovely fan blowing air on me, which is keeping it just about manageable. Um, what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what's happening with your senses, but also what's arising in your mind and what's arising in your emotions. So it's being aware of all of these different things at the same time. Well, one at a time, but you're noticing all these different things. And when you can do that and you get fairly practiced at it, then you will be much more able to notice the thinking that will show up. So some of the rules that typically people begin to make when they are eating mindfully are things like they have to eat slowly. You sort of turn it into a bunch of shoulds and have tos. Have to eat slowly, have to put the knife and fork down between each bite, have to only be eating and not be doing anything else, have to eat only when you're hungry, have to stop at just the right point of fullness. And so these um, these can become rules. Now, there's nothing that says that that is what mindful eating is. Mindful eating isn't those things. Mindful eating is being aware without judgment of your current experience while you're eating. So you could actually be eating mindfully fast. You could actually be eating mindfully and be doing something else. It requires a great deal of practice to be able to do that, though. I don't actually recommend it. I'm just saying that all of these things have become associated with mindful eating, but they are not mindful what mindful eating is. I hope that makes sense to you. So, what I suggest you do is really work on practicing your mindfulness outside of eating. So, it could be walking. So, as you're walking, you're just noticing pressure as your feet are, hitting the ground, or sound when you hear birds or you hear traffic or you hear whatever you're hearing. You're just noting what it is that is happening in your awareness at that moment. It might be something you're smelling, it might be a thought. So you just note thinking or feeling if you notice that there's an emotion. So you can be doing this while you're walking, you can be doing this while you're making a cup of tea. It's about bringing your full awareness to whatever you are doing and how you are being in that moment. So if you build these moments into your day fairly frequently, then when it is that you're coming to eating, you'll be aware that the mind is starting to give you rules about that you should, well, I shouldn't be eating that, or I have to slow down, I should be eating slowly, or I'm gobbling my food. That's great awareness if you're gobbling your food because you probably won't enjoy it as much and it'll be less satisfying. But there isn't a rule about it. So then you might just naturally slow down because what you want is to enjoy the experience of eating and you want it to digest nicely and you want to feel nice and not feel suddenly oof too full because you've eaten it so quickly or get heartburn or something like that. So I hope that that makes sense. um, all right, let me move on to the next question. How do we protect ourselves against the government's new guidelines like seeing calorie counts on menus, etc.? Oh dear. Well, I'm definitely not a fan of the new government guidelines to get the whole nation to lose weight. And in fact, I wrote a very detailed and referenced blog last week, which you can see on my blog. It's peacefuleating.co.uk/blog. And it's the first one up there, which is what the government uh, should do about the O word. I'm not going to say it because I don't like to use that word. But that's the name of the blog. So, but just in terms of your question, how do you protect yourself? So it's really about being very clear with yourself about your own path. And it is really hard to shut off from these other messages, particularly because they are shoved in our faces so much. And it's in all the newspapers now, and now already in the doctor's surgeries. I haven't been lately, but I have seen already recommendations to um, lose weight, stop smoking, reduce your drinking, start exercising. And many of those things, in fact three of them, are great in terms of helping health. Losing weight is not a guarantee for improving health outcomes. So it's to keep reminding yourself of your own intention. Keep reminding yourself about what works for you. You know that pursuing weight loss gets you into hot water. It actually, um, for a lot of people, causes binge eating, obsession with food, eating disorders, and so on. So it's about keeping on remembering what really matters to you. Now, let's just take you mentioned calories on menus. So let's just take a specific example. I'm not even sure if the calories on menus thing is going to happen, to be honest, because it is incredibly difficult for a restaurant to put calorie values on menus because you've got a chef there who's not measuring out so much onion, so much garlic, so much olive oil for every serving. They, shoving things on and putting things in the frying pan and whatever else, right? They are often, and they've got specials and all of that. Whereas if you're doing packaged food, and it's very specific measurements and everything, that's still not an easy thing to do, by the way, but it's an easier thing to do than restaurants. So there has been quite a big outcry about this from eating disorder organizations, but also from the restaurant trade. It's incredibly onerous. And, I mean, just think about small restaurants, family owned small, restaurants. It's going to be really, really difficult. So I don't even know if that's going to happen. But let's just say it does. What do you do? Well, as I said with the question before, you know, everything that I do with my clients is really trying to grow awareness of what is happening internally for you. And the way that I like to do it is through a practice of mindfulness. And so what I suggest you do is say, for example, you are going to go to a restaurant, is before you go is to check in with yourself. Now, this is going to take a bit of practice in the beginning, but I think that it will become easier to do the more that you practice, just as most things do. So before you go, you check in with yourself and notice how you're feeling. Is there any anxiety there? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? And really give yourself some compassion. Put your hand on your heart, or your hand on your belly, somewhere that feels kind of kind and compassionate to you, your arms, anything really. And just acknowledge to yourself that this is a moment of difficulty. It's just not easy, and it really sucks that this is the way that it is. Also remember that you are not alone in this. There are literally thousands of people feeling exactly the same way as you, probably at that very moment, because this is such a big thing for so many people. So, really just recognize that and then try to be kind to yourself and treat yourself like you would, a good friend or a loved one. So, instead of stealing yourself, I would suggest softening yourself. So, take some breaths and just encourage yourself that you're going to be okay, and bring to mind what it is you want to get out of the time in this restaurant. Are you going with people you care about? Are you going with people who you haven't seen in a while, people you've missed maybe, or someone you really laugh a lot with, or maybe you have really interesting conversations with this person or this group of people, or a lot of fun, whatever it is. Bring your mind to what it is that you are particularly looking forward to about going to this restaurant. Maybe it is a great restaurant and you love the food. So, part of your intention will be to really enjoy it and include in that intention that you are going to eat whatever you really want to eat, whatever sounds good to you in the moment. All right, so you've set up your intention before you even go and you've given yourself compassion. So you're already in a much better place than you would be. So then you get there, and what I would suggest you do is before you even open the menu, just check in with yourself. I know it's a bit harder when you're with other people, but you don't have to close your eyes, but just take a moment, stare off into space or something like that, and check in with yourself and just ask yourself, first of all, how hungry am I? And secondly, what do I feel like? Do I feel like a hot meal or a cold meal? Do I feel like something quite substantial, or do I feel like something lighter? Do I feel like something kind of crunchy, or do I feel like something soft and smooth? Try to just explore with yourself what would probably feel good to you at this moment before you even open the menu. Because it might be that when you see calorie counts, you start to change your mind about what it is that you want. So, to support yourself, um, just ask yourself what it is you feel like. So you're giving yourself a kind of idea, and then go to that section in the menu. So if you really feel like steak or a burger or something, go to that section rather than going to the salad section. But if you feel like something with a lot more vegetables or, salady kind of stuff, then go straight to that section. And just intend not to look at the calories. You know, I know it's not going to, you might happen to look at them, you might look at them out of automaticity. But this just the more you practice mindfulness, you see, the more aware you will be about what is going on for you, how you're feeling, and then you can take care of that for yourself. So the practice is about getting out of being in an automatic kind of behavior pattern with yourself and more into a conscious, proactive, awake state. I hope that that helps. Okie doke. Let me move on to the next question. I've well and truly rejected diet culture and have no intention of dieting again. However, I'm finding it very hard not to see diet culture every time I try and focus on health. Probably because I'm in a larger body now than I've ever been in and would still prefer to be smaller. I continually have to remind my brain that weight and size will take care of themselves one way or another, and that healing from years of yo yo dieting is the main thing right now. I've recently realized that healthy behaviors feel like diet culture to me because I only made efforts with healthy behaviors when I was dieting before. So, you are absolutely not alone. This is such a common issue for so many people. So just know that you're not alone in this. It, it's so common that when people diet, then they eat the fruit and vegetables, then they move their bodies and they do it all in one go. And sometimes they're eating fruit and vegetables they don't particularly like. I know I did that so many times with diets. Oh my goodness. I ate so many boiled eggs one diet because it had all these weight loss magical properties which never really materialized. And I actually became allergic to eggs. And guess what? I still ate them, even though they made me feel so sick. That's how dedicated I was to the diet. So, when we are dieting, we are often eating things we don't particularly like or might even make us not feel that good or not satisfied, etc. And we often are doing exercise that we don't enjoy, or we're doing too much for where our bodies are at that time. We're not building things up slowly, we're just going for it. And it's hard work when your body is already in a calorie deficit and then you are doing a lot more exercise. It's very hard on your body. Your stress hormones are just elevated. And so what happens is your body and your brain kind of associate that with stress, discomfort, exhaustion, and great unpleasantness, to put it mildly. So it's no wonder that any of these kinds of health promoting behaviors are associated with dieting. And, I mean, it's not too fine a point, I think, to put on it to say that it's a bit like a PTSD. It's a bit like that, it's quite triggering for the body because it's like, uh-oh, is that what we're doing now? It's just hard, it's stressful, brain goes into survival mode, rebellion mode, etc. So, um, what I always say to people is you can't do this too soon. Um, don't, I would suggest you put your attention on healing your relationship with food. Make that your priority and put health on the back burner unless you have a condition that absolutely needs your attention right now. And if that is the case, I really suggest you seek out a professional who can help you with that because it really isn't easy. A non diet professional, by the way, who can help you with that. Particularly if you've got a health condition, I would suggest a non-diet dietitian or a non-diet nutritionist who might be able to help you with that particular condition in a way that isn't going to be activating the old diet mentality. So you can't really do this too soon. And I know, I mean, I totally get it, how lots of people who are dieting are doing it for health reasons because they believe that it's going to improve their health, whereas actually, often it doesn't improve their health unless you actually have a specific condition that really can be supported around how you're eating and moving. So, let's just think about health because I get it that it is a value for you and it is important to you. So, what do we know? We know that there are certain behaviors that you could be doing, regardless of their impact on weight, that could improve your health or protect your health, perhaps. What are they? Not smoking. So I always find this quite funny how, smokers are, you know, telling other people that what they're eating is unhealthy. Seriously, if you are smoking, that would be the priority in terms of a behavior to handle before you go anywhere near food or exercise. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it is, but that is where I would be putting my attention. The next thing that you could be looking at is your alcohol consumption, because if you are drinking more than the recommended guidelines, that is going to be putting pressure on your kidneys and potential and your liver for sure, and potentially other aspects as well of other health markers. So those two things are also, they're not easy to deal with, but I would be focusing there if I'm going to be focusing anywhere. Then adequate sleep and reducing stress, or learning ways to be able to manage stress better. So those are four areas that I would be looking at before even looking at food or exercise. Particularly unless you're already doing exercise that you really enjoy and it's going really well for you, and great, go do it. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just that if it's coupled with dieting and there's a kind of push pull thing going on with it and there's a lot of resistance, I would be focusing on other things and focusing on repairing your relationship with food before you go anywhere near the exercise part. So, what are the food and exercise behaviors that we know are good for health? Yes, eating fruit and vegetables. But you can literally eat any fruit and vegetable that you like. If you don't like any vegetables, you could just eat fruit. I mean, perhaps over time you might encourage, you might educate your palate. You might expose your palate to different kind of tastes and textures and things. Um, but I wouldn't be starting off there as a focus. I really would be pulling back from that and instead really trying to practice listening to your body. Instead of up here, what I should be doing, come down here. What do I need? What feels good right now? What will taste good right now? What will satisfy me right now? If you feel the urge to move, by all means go and move. But really try and practice coming back to your body. What is it that would feel really good? Is it going for a 5 minute walk? Is it going for a 10-minute walk? Is it something else entirely? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here listing all the different types of movement you could be doing. It could be putting on a CD, or we don't have CDs anymore, whatever, streaming through Spotify or whatever, some song that you really enjoy and just dancing around your living room or something. I mean, and again, it doesn't, you don't have to be doing this. So I would be encouraging real gentleness around this, taking the focus perhaps off health and onto how you're feeling, what you need, what feels good to you, what feels satisfying. And that's where I would be putting my attention. And then over time, you're probably you will suddenly feel like eating some of the foods that you've associated with dieting, but see if you can allow it to come from the body rather than top down, so bottom up. And the same with the movement. All right, I hope that that was helpful. And it's great to be here with you. Thank you for asking your questions. Please do go to my website, www.peacefuleating.co.uk, and go to the questions and answers tab, and you can submit an anonymous question. As you can see, I always answer them anonymously. And let me know what you're struggling with, what you need. What is it that you that's on your mind around food and body image. All right. I hope that that was helpful. And if you're interested in knowing more, if you're really interested in this intuitive eating, mindful eating approach, or I call it peaceful eating, do go to my website and download my guide to peaceful eating. You can get it at peacefuleating.co.uk/subscribe, peacefuleating.co.uk/subscribe, and you'll get instant access. It's easy to read and it's pretty short. So you'll get a really good grounding of this approach. All right, take care. I hope everyone's doing okay well, we're having a heat wave. So if you're in winter, summer, um, we've still got this ongoing pandemic and lots of stuff going down around the world. So may you all be well. May you all be happy. May you all be peaceful. Thank you. Take care. Bye for now.